Welcome to She Fascinates Me, a hand picked collection of heartfelt, human conversations with women who've lived boldly, grown wiser, and have stories worth sharing. In a world flooded with AI content and perfectly polished personas, we're all craving something real, and you can't fake this. From big reinventions and quiet pivots to wisdom on wellness, leadership, and turning a passion into a business, each episode is honest, inspiring, and full of connection. Today, I'm catching up with my friend Amanda Forgione, CEO of Morrison, a longtime ad agency with deep roots and major staying power. Amanda's at the top of her game, and in this conversation, we talk about what it really takes to lead, especially as a woman balancing career, family, and everything in between. She's shaped a company culture that values loyalty, flexibility, and real-life balance because she's lived that juggle herself. It was so cool to hear how she's honoring her family's legacy while also carving her own path forward. Hi there, I'm Julie. Welcome to She Fascinates Me. And today I have a CEO of a respected advertising agency in Atlanta, Amanda Forgione. Hello, Amanda.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. So you are one of my leadership in her midlife friends. You have achieved CEO status in your family's business. Morrison has been around for, I believe it's 39 years, if I
That's
recall.
right.
Yeah, so you grew up in this
That's
family
right.
business and became CEO a couple of years ago, right?
That's right. Yeah, just almost 3 years.
Yeah, I remember seeing on your social media, you made a post about it, and I was literally beaming with pride. I couldn't wait to leave a comment for you and tell you how happy I was. And so you're just the
Oh,
perfect fit for the content that we're putting together on She Fascinates Me, and I'm really happy you took the time today.
well, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Great. Well, tell me a little bit about what it was like for you growing up in a family business. I did as well. My parents were antique dealers. I know you were surrounded by your parents in this business.
Yes, yes. I did grow up in the business. My stepdad started Morrison in 1986, so I was just a kid, and I did think it was a really cool job. My dad, my stepmom, my mom, my stepdad, all in advertising or marketing or PR. And so I just grew up. It was just in my blood, and I
Yeah.
thought it was the coolest job. I admired how hard they worked. They seemed like they had a lot of fun, and I just think advertising's on the cutting edge of culture, and so that was always really intriguing to me.
Well, absolutely. And the creativity of all of it. I mean, with my parents being kind of in the arts and antiques world, the creative element I thought was always so interesting for my friends because, a lot of them didn't even know what their parents did for work, right? They just knew they went to an office every day. And
That's
that
right.
kind of did have a cool factor, right? When I was talking to my friends about what my parents did. And sounds like you had the same experience.
Yes, your
Yeah.
parents' store was so cool. We loved to go. I mean, so many great
Yeah.
finds. So I think
Yeah,
when you grow up in creativity like that, it's inspiring.
definitely. So, gosh, do you remember some of the campaigns that they worked on when you were a kid from the 80s?
Yes. My dad, I remember him coming home one day telling me that he had shot a Prel commercial, and I
Oh
just
gosh,
thought
I
that was the
remember
coolest thing,
Pro. They had
right?
hair like you, the girls on the Pro commercials.
No, having them advertise for a product that I saw on the shelves just felt like he was famous. Of course, he wasn't. I honestly think the campaign had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in it, which I don't know why he was in a Prel commercial, but I
Okay.
do remember that. And just like having the celebrity impact, and
Yes.
that just felt very cool.
I mean, back then when you were a kid, did you have aspirations of following in your family's footsteps?
I don't remember a time where I was like, I'm only going to do that. But I think, and in fact, it's pretty funny. They all told me not to
Oh, did they?
because, well, it's the business has changed a lot in 40 years, but it's a pretty back then it was a pretty hard business in that the hours were really long, the pay was not that great, and I think they just thought, well, learn from us and do something different. And I kind of took the other track and just said, I'm learning from you and I want to do what you do.
Okay.
Um, so I was a communications major and I just always really enjoyed the idea of communication. And I don't know, it felt like the right place for me when I graduated. Although my stepdad would not hire me. He made
Oh,
me
how
go work somewhere
interesting.
else.
Okay.
Yep. He said, yeah, because I worked at Morrison every summer, every Christmas break. And I think he was like, go
Yeah.
spread your wings and do something else. So
Yeah.
he would not hire me right out of school.
Okay. Were you a little annoyed at that, or did you realize the importance of that move?
I think I probably was at the time. I don't harbor a lot of ill feelings
Sure,
about it
sure.
because I loved going to work somewhere else, and I actually met one of my best friends at that first job, and so
Perfect.
it ended up being amazing. But I'm
Meant to
sure I was
be.
annoyed at the time.
Yeah. Well, easy to have a plug and play situation, but it was important for you to spread your wings. And were you in Atlanta with another firm? Is that how it worked?
Yes, I
Yeah.
was with a big advertising agency with a huge department of women in their 20s. So it was fun. I mean, everyone was, earlier in their careers, and there was a lot of work hard, play hard. It was a great first job. And
Okay.
in fact, so this is a funny story, which I did not know. My stepdad told me that I applied for the job at Morrison without telling him, and got the job without telling him. And I don't remember that either. But apparently, the guy that I interviewed with went to him and said, I found the candidate I want to bring in, but I don't think you'll like her. Um, not because he didn't like me, but because he didn't, I guess he thought he didn't want me to work there. And my stepdad's like, of course you can hire her if she's the right person for the job. So I have no idea if that's really how
Okay.
it went down, but that's what he tells me.
Could be a Morrison myth. All right.
Yeah,
Well, after he
exactly.
watches this episode, you'll have to get the real scoop and report back. So, I think advertising and marketing, whenever I, as a consumer, have seen these really amazing campaigns, it really does fascinate me. And you must be really good at it to have achieved, the milestone of CEO as you have. So, for how many years have you been in the business, and what were your different stepping stones along the way in your career?
Yeah. I've been in the business, I want to say 27 or 8 years,
Okay.
but I've been with Morrison for 25 of those years. So my path is very linear and only two stops.
Okay.
But I think what's interesting about advertising and why I've stayed in one place, obviously it's a family business, so there's that, but working on different clients, it's almost like you have a different job for every client that you work on,
Yes.
because they have a different target audience, a different message, a different goal. And so it's like having a lot of little jobs all built into one.
Definitely. And they're
So
all so challenging because of all those different factors. Yeah. So it's got to keep
so
you
different.
stimulated and never feeling like you're slogging to the office, right?
Exactly. Yes, every
Yeah.
day is different, that is for
Yeah.
sure.
Becoming CEO, did it really like flip your idea of where you thought you would be in midlife, or was it kind of always the goal for you?
I never really had the goal of CEO. I think I knew at a certain point that I would take over the company. And of
Hmm.
course, there's a time where I think in every business owner's life, they say to themselves, is someone going to take this over from the inside? Am I going to sell it? Am I going to close it? What
Hmm.
am I going to do with my business? And so um, I don't know. I think there was always a part of me that felt like I wanted to carry the business forward, and that it would be sad if we sold it, because then it wouldn't be
Yeah.
like Morrison anymore. Um, so I think what I love about being the CEO is being able to make decisions
Yes.
and live my life the way that I want to, because I'm my own boss. And I think
Yes.
anyone who's been an independent contractor or the CEO or whatever it is, where they have control over their own day, that's so liberating.
Exactly. Well, and you have to have a really strong team to be able to make that happen, right? For the wheels to keep on turning.
Absolutely.
And you've got how many people on staff?
We're about 30, which
Okay.
is sort of the size we've always been. And I've always asked my stepdad, why didn't you grow it? And then here I am in the same role thinking, why would I want to be bigger? I feel like the culture really changes in an organization once you get above a certain amount of people. And 30 is just a really nice, it's big enough to do really good work, but cozy enough and small enough to really know each other. So
Sure.
it's a great size for us, and it gives us the ability to do the work across a lot of different disciplines, without it feeling like a big organization that's hard to make change when we want to.
I understand that. Okay. So it's official. You're CEO. The excitement around all of that has got to be huge, but certainly getting to implement your first big change. Do you remember what that felt like, what it was, how it was received?
Yeah, yeah. Of course, I was nervous to change anything just because, you know, I had pretty big shoes to fill, but I remember wanting to change the branding. We had the same colors and logo for probably 15 years, and it just didn't feel like me, even though it was red and black, which is my alma mater. I just felt like it was it needed an update, let's say.
Okay.
So, I we had just come out of the pandemic and we had this idea of the flexibility that I talked about. And so we talked to one of our designers about it, and she brought us this idea of color theory. CMYK is how printing is done on the old school printers. So those four colors make up every other color combination you could ever print. And so her
Okay.
idea was, what's more flexible than that is CMYK. So our logo is four rings that are interlocking. One is cyan, one is magenta, one is yellow, one is black. And so her idea was that that was total flexibility. And then one of our writers said, well, let's not talk about flexibility because that could feel like a little loosey goosey, or maybe you don't have a backbone. Let's talk about it
Okay.
as elasticity. So you're bending, but you're,
Yes.
snapping back to strategy, or you're snapping back to process, or whatever it may be. So
The
I
bend
don't
and
know,
snap, remember, Amanda?
the bend and
Clueless.
snap.
But the word elasticity in itself, I mean, that's a beautiful word. Is
Yes.
that used in any taglines or anything like that, or is it just like this general idea? I just love the word.
We talk about it when we're pitching new business to explain ourselves, and we talk about it as our elasticity ethos.
Ah,
Um, and people seem to really like that it's flexible for our employees, but also we're
hmm
flexible in how we deliver solutions. So, all in all, it seemed to work. And
yeah.
my stepdad, I don't know if he loved it at first, but he's definitely gotten on board since.
Okay. Well, and I think, when I was considering the possibility years ago of what if I were to take over the family business, that was a source of a lot of anxiety for me. How is he going to receive modernization? I mean, we didn't even use a computer in the antique store. It was crazy. So, or I mean, we did, but in the smallest way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so it makes sense that maybe took a little time for him to warm up to it, but I think it's just so beautiful. It's perfect.
And one of the interesting things we did is we also revamped our space and used that color scheme throughout. And so each of our offices has one of those colors. And so, of course, my favorite color is pink. So I have a magenta office, which is pretty fun.
I loved getting the sneak peek on your Instagram. It's the most gorgeous office. It is so exciting. I love it. It made me so happy to see it. So you must love bringing clients in there. It just feels so good all around.
I do. And I painted my stepdad's office pink. So I think that probably was the biggest.
Yeah.
When I took over the corner office with the window and got the CEO role, I also painted it pink. So there you
I
go.
mean, kind of territorial of you, Amanda. Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh, that's great. Okay, so skipping over to a very important element of every episode of She Fascinates Me is charity. I always like to include a shout out for whatever charity or charitable cause is important to a guest. And for y'all, it is Ronald McDonald House. Can you explain how that came to be?
So my stepdad, Bob Morrison, has always really loved focusing on the youth, and he coached Little League. He sat on the board of Marist School, and he also sat on the Atlanta Ronald McDonald House board. And through that connection, we were able to take them on as a pro bono client. And really, our focus has been around the marketing materials for their annual gala and auction. So they auction off a BMW or a Porsche, depends on who donates it which year. But we help with all the marketing surrounding that. And yeah, it does a phenomenal job of raising money. And it's just such a worthy cause that I think it's one of those charities that you just feel like at a family's time of crisis, there's nothing worse than having them feel like they can't stay near a hospital, or they don't have the ability to be together in a really sad and scary time. So we love it. It's a
Exactly.
great charity, and we
Well, I'm
love to
glad
be
that
able to
y'all are
give back.
able to kind of be the engine to create such an amplified amount of success, I think, for such an event. It's hard to imagine without the support of an advertising agency how much smaller their numbers might be. So I know they're probably so grateful to y'all. And now we'll take a moment for the giving intermission. Don't fast forward, your karma is watching. Morrison supports Ronald McDonald House Charities. When a child is hospitalized, the whole family is affected. Parents often have to travel far from home for treatment, which means long days, added expenses, and the heartbreak of being separated. Ronald McDonald House Charities was created to ease that burden. With more than 380 houses around the world, RMHC provides families with a home away from home, a warm bed, a hot meal, and a community of support just steps away from the hospital. They also offer Ronald McDonald family rooms inside hospitals, giving parents a space to rest and recharge without leaving their child's side. It's about more than a place to stay. It's about keeping families together when it matters most. You can help by volunteering, donating, or simply spreading the word so families in need know that this resource exists. Learn more at rmhc.org, because every child heals better with family close by. Here's the kindergarten question. What's your favorite part of your job?
It's got to be the part where we film commercials, which I know sounds so cliche, and we do so much more than that today, but it's the coolest part. We sit in something called Video Village, where we're in director's chairs, the clients, the agency. We watch the playback of what's happening on set, which could be a home, it could be UGA Sanford Stadium, it could be really anywhere.
The sanity piece. I think you've got to probably lean pretty hard on family and friends when things get stressful. Do you feel like you have enough time in your life for family and friends?
I do. I do. I mean, I didn't always prioritize it the way that I feel like I do now, but I definitely want to be the best version of the mom, wife, friend, sister, daughter that I can be. And so I try to prioritize it.
Yeah.
With my friends, you know, even with you and other groups of people where we have things in common, like the group chat is such a awesome part of connection when life is
Yes.
busy. You can check in, you can pop in, you can, see how someone's doing, and it feels like a little visit. So I don't know. I know
Yeah.
technology, everyone talks about it robs, one on one, but it also fosters the ability to connect when people are
Yeah.
busy.
Okay. Moving back over to mom and CEO. How does that balance work for you? I know earlier on in life you mentioned, having to sit in a conference room and it was dinner time. Still today, though, do you have some challenges finding the balance?
I think one of the things when I took over as CEO that I did want to change was the necessity to be at a desk from 9 to 5 for 5 days a
Mm-hmm.
week, because that's just not a realistic thing for a working parent, mom or
Okay.
dad. And so we've really woven that into the culture of the agency. I'm very upfront when I'm going to a volleyball game or taking a kid to a doctor or whatever. I talk about it. I try to model that behavior because that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't necessarily the case when I was coming up. And
Oh, you
I'm
felt
I'm
like you kind of had to
hopeful.
hide it when you were coming up, or people had to hide it when you were coming up?
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, I would be sitting there thinking, I wish I was home. And then I'm home thinking, oh, I'm not doing what I should be doing at work. And you
Mm-hmm.
do feel really pulled.
Yeah.
So I try to foster a culture of total flexibility. I don't care when you do it, as
Yeah.
long as you're not missing a deadline or making someone else late. I mean, that's a big deal. You don't want to hold someone else up because of your work schedule. But as long as it fits into the schedule, total elasticity, as we like to say.
Yes. Well,
Um,
and another gold star for you as a leader, making sure that that very important piece of the culture and the work-life balance is, part of how everyone can expect to be treated at Morrison. I love
yeah.
that. And I'm sure everyone is really grateful. You must have some very, very happy people on your team. So, the mom piece, though, I've heard the term, I've heard you mention the term rather, the invisible load. What is that about for you?
I mean, I just feel like I have a laundry list of, no pun intended, things going through my head at all times that need
Hmm.
to get done. And I'm married to someone who's very involved. So it's not like he's not doing anything. It's just that
Hmm.
I can't turn it off. And so this is a very simple and basic tip that I employ, but I make lists. I make lists on lists on lists. And so
Okay.
every weekend, I make a list for everyone in the house of the things that I'm thinking about that we all have to get done. And then we share the load. And I do the same
Okay.
thing at work. I mean, I even make a list of things that I've already done just so I can cross them off because that feels like
That
such an
feels good to do.
accomplishment.
Yes.
But it's the only way I've really felt to share the load. And sometimes I'll do, in the notes app, I'll do the list and then share it with the family so that
Okay.
it lives on. It's evergreen. It's not a piece of paper necessarily, but I found it super effective in really sharing the invisible load that moms often carry around.
Sure. Okay. And so at first, was there a little bit of an eye roll with the list, or was everyone kind of on board? I'm sure it works really well now, but how was it at first when you
I mean,
started doing that?
I've been doing it with my kids for so long that I don't even know if they remember a Saturday morning where there wasn't a list on the
Okay.
counter.
They don't know
um,
the difference. That's a good thing.
they don't know the difference. I know, right?
Yeah.
Like and I probably train them to do this when they're older, which hopefully will still be an effective tool in, 20 more years.
When we're thinking about women who are entering a leadership role or aspiring towards a leadership role, what is the biggest takeaway that you want them to have from today's episode with you?
Yeah, I think as we age into our 40s and 50s as women, we don't trust our gut, or we start to trust our gut rather a lot more than we do early in our lives. And I think one of the statistics that I read that really stuck out to me was that a woman will apply for a job if she ticks off every single line on the job
Okay.
description, and a
Hmm.
man would apply for that same job only ticking off 30%.
Oh my gosh.
So that just speaks to our sort of hesitancy to be a perfectionist and not believe in ourselves. So, I mean, I think if I had to sum it up, I would
Yeah.
say trust your instincts, be decisive, and believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is going to either.
Amen to that. That is perfect advice. You have been so generous with your time. Thank you so much. And with your
Of
wisdom.
course.
So I love how, we really did go deep on, very specific information about how an advertising agency runs under your type of leadership. But I think also just the fundamentals of being a great leader as a woman in her middle age is just going to be so relevant for so many situations. So thank you for what you did to build up other women today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so proud of you for doing this. This is a
Oh my gosh.
fantastic idea.
Thank you very much for your support. All right. Well, we'll see you around and all the best.
Thanks. Bye, Julie.
Bye. What I love about Amanda is how real she is. Smart, thoughtful, and totally grounded. She's proof that leadership can look like empathy, boundaries, and a whole lot of intention. She's not just keeping a business going, she's evolving it in ways that make room for real life. Talking to her made me think about how we all have the power to redefine what success looks like, especially in midlife, and she's doing just that. She Fascinates Me is a project that took real courage for me to start. I sat with this idea for more than 2 years before I finally found the nerve to bring it to life. What held me back? I don't have formal training in media. I'm not especially tech savvy. And like so many women, I worried about criticism. I'm sharing this because it's the real side of me as your host. Every woman who joins me on this show shows up with honesty, heart, and courage, and I owe you the same. My guests are real, and so am I. So the fact that you're here, listening all the way to the end, means you gave me a chance, and for that, I'm truly grateful. If only more women built each other up the way you just did by showing up and listening. This podcast is my brave step. There will be critiques along the way, and I may take some of them to heart, or I may not, but either way, I'm here. I'm doing it, and I am proud of that. At its heart, She Fascinates Me is about connection and community and the way a podcast can feel like good company for busy women. I'm glad we connected today. You can expand our community of fascinating women by dropping me a line. Who fascinates you?
Hey everyone, this is me, Joel. I'm just here as the producer and editor of She Fascinates Me to let you all know that we would love if you could go follow us on any social media app you use, like and rate us on whatever podcatcher app you're using, and tell all your friends about the show. If you enjoyed listening to the show but want to watch it, go check us out on Spotify Videos, where all the episodes have the video format uploaded as well. If you don't use Spotify, check us out on youtube.com under She Fascinates Me. All full video episodes are posted up there, and you can see tons of clips on the show on Instagram and other social media apps. Thank you so much for listening to She Fascinates Me, and make sure to come back every week so you can hear another fascinating conversation with Julie and one of her guests. And who knows, like she said, maybe you can suggest someone who fascinates you and you'll hear them on the show. Thanks again for listening, and make sure to like and follow us wherever you can.